and it was just overall a fantastic day. I couldn't have asked for really a better opening day here in Tampa Bay. And the Rays won. They beat the Cubbies. And I don't know if you noticed this, but they are now 500. And not only are they 500, they are now in second. Well, actually, they were in second place to start the day, just behind the New York Yankees, who are coming into town this weekend. But we were talking about at Ferg's, there was a little drama yesterday. And that drama involved our executive producer in the morning show, Sam Cohen, and Brian Hartline. And Sam had a couple Michigan jokes that they didn't go over well with Coach Hartline. And, these are jokes I wouldn't have done. And look, I'm a Michigan fan. I was more pumped for the Natty about yesterday than probably anybody. But the one thing I knew not to do is talk to Brian Hartline about that game. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But Sam, he made something along the lines of like, oh, we know Coach Hartline's going to be wearing his maize and blue tonight. And Hartline just looked at him and told him his jokes weren't funny. And he wasn't there to joke around, clearly. Now, we told that story on the air. And Mark in St. Pete wants to talk about Brian Hartline. And you're demanding an apology from Sam. Is that what you want, Mark?
I'll tell you what I like to see. I like to just see me in a little fist fight after that game. I want to tell you what, you don't understand Brian Hartline. He's a great coach. He's a badass guy, too, and that's Ohio State. That's what USF needs. They need to get badass, and he'll do it for them. And what he did, that guy, was complete disrespect. And in all sincerity, I think what you guys ought to have is have a box off, put them in the ring between each other, and have a little fight there because what he did, you see, people don't understand the rivalry. You do because you know Michigan. You know how we don't like you, and I don't have that against you, but you understand the situation. And in other words, I think he owes Hartline an apology, or if I was Hartline, just say, give me an apology, or I'll never be on the show again. I like your show, by the way.
I appreciate
it,
Mark.
I just thought I'd tell you.
Look, Mark, I don't think Hartline's going to sign up to fight Sam, although I'd love to see it because Hartline still looks like he could play. Like the dude was still all of the ladies in our sales department was like, who is the cute guy with the USF shirt? Like he still looked like he could play in the league. So I would take Brian Hartline to win that match. But you're right. I think Sam owes him an apology, and hopefully we get that on the air soon.
And it's not good for your show. It's not good for your station.
I mean, it's giving me good content. I think it's a funny story.
Yeah, I know for that. But what I'm just saying is you want to make sure, in my opinion, in business, I've been in business before, and you want to, this guy, Hartline's going to be here. And you want him to be here because he can take your program. And I like USF. I go to their games. I have a lot of fun at them. But Brian Hartline is a coach that can move you to the next realm. Okay, you got great high school football down here. You got better high school football down here than you do up in Ohio. Look at all these guys on Ohio State that are from Florida. You got to keep these guys at home, and Brian can probably do it. So I'd kiss his ass all I could to keep him happy because he can help. You just need him on your TV. I guarantee you this: you need him on your radio show to get better ratings.
I mean, if he doesn't, thanks for the call, Mark. If he doesn't want to come on anymore because of that, I would say, well, that's unfortunate. I can't imagine that's the move that ends our relationship as a joke between the producer. But yeah, we always enjoy having him on, and that's why he was part of our opening day. He was one of the first people that I reached out to. He was fantastic. He just didn't like the Michigan joke, and again, I get it because I know how it works. It's not something you joke about, and he didn't find it very funny. So. I hope we get an apology out of Sam to Brian on air. And I know Aaron Jacobson's going to work to make that happen. And if the folks are over at USF listening, let's make it happen. I'm down. Now, I'm looking at the text line here yesterday. Let's see. I said, Alex here. We met at Ferg's yet. I do remember meeting you, Alex. He said, big fan of the show. Is that why Brian Hartline kind of had a beeline walk away from Ferg's and Chris Mathis was following him? He was speed walking. I do think he was ready to get out of there. I don't think he wanted to be. Look, that room was crowded. It really was crowded. And a couple people, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, a couple people in the room, I think they forgot their deodorant. And maybe Brian wanted to just, to get out of there. It was an appearance. It's part of work, right? He probably had a busy day. You know, these college football coaches are like, just because the season ain't happening doesn't mean he ain't got a full day of work. He was talking about how he was at the office at 6:00 in the morning. So, him coming out and hanging with us for a minute was just one thing on his schedule that day. Like he had a whole agenda. He had to go back to work, just like everybody else yesterday. He has a job too. So I don't think he beelined out of there because of those comments. I think he had to get back to work. A lot of people on the text line are suggesting a Jake Paul style boxing match between Sam and Hartline. I think that would be awesome. I don't think Brian's ever going to do that because why would he? But I would take Brian Hartline. I mean, he would be the huge favorite, I would think, in that matchup. Another question here from Leonard. He said, was the ballpark brighter? Can someone ask an outfielder if the ball is more difficult to pick up in the air? Now, I can't answer the second part of that question, but I do think being inside Tropicana Field yesterday, it did feel brighter. It felt like and I guess maybe I just can't remember back to 2024. Like I wish I could take a visual I had of 2024 and a visual I had from yesterday. But it definitely felt like there was a moment where we went into the club level to check out all the work that had been done up there. And when you're sitting in the club level, we weren't in club seats. We were just in the club room. So you don't really have a great view of the field from where we were, but you could see enough of the field. You couldn't see the roof or anything from this area of the club we were hanging out in, and it looked like natural sunlight was on the field. Like it looked like natural lighting, and it looked really good. And there's a part of me that had that thought, like, can we just continue playing here? And I know St. Pete comes with its problems, and they do need a new updated ballpark, but it's like you spent all this money on this place, and the club section was absolutely gorgeous. Everything was brand new. The tables, the couches, and I don't know how many people had an opportunity to go up there before. Like I said, I've been fortunate enough to get to experience that because we are the Rays radio partner. But I understand a lot of people can't afford that, especially in the times that we live in. Like if I didn't work here, those seats are probably not somewhere I would get to sit. But they really upgraded that room substantially, and all I kept thinking in my mind was, they're going to tear all this down in a couple of years. Like you did all this work. The Trop looks great. I know the location sucks. It's unfortunate that we just can't continue to play here because I like older ballparks. I think older ballparks are the best. They just have more, they have more character. The Trop is becoming one of my favorite ballparks for that reason. Like there's something about those older ballparks, right? Like what's the number one? We talked about it a couple weeks ago on the show. It was the bucket list stadiums for the NFL. Like 200 people were surveyed. The number one stadium on everybody's bucket list is Lambeau Field because it's old. It's got history. And the Trop is old and it has history. And, you think about the Rays' history, and sure, it's not as rich as, let's say the New York Yankees, right? We get that. Or the Chicago Cubs. But Tropicana Field has a lot of history compared to, hell, even Yankee Stadium because they moved. And since they moved, I know they've won one World Series, so they got some World Series memories in that building. But before the game, they had Andy Fried go out there and talk about some of the memories, like game 162, Evan Longoria. And it's, and they mentioned where Wade Boggs got his 3,000th hit. And, there's areas of the Trop that are a part of history. And there's more history to that building than a lot of even these teams that have been around forever. A lot of them are in new ballparks right now. And so their stadiums don't have the history of Tropicana Field. So I definitely had those moments yesterday where I'm like, man, I wish we could just stay here. Now, I'm hoping that it all works out in Tampa. I live in Clearwater, so whether it's in Tampa over on that Dale Mabry site or it's at the Trop, it's pretty much the same drive for me. It's not great, but not horrible either. So I don't really care what side it's on selfishly. It doesn't really hurt me. It's going to be about the same. But I wish the Trop was at least an option in case all else fails. Now, Ken Hagan was on with the Hillsborough County Commissioner, was on with T-Crash yesterday, and it seems like things are going pretty good and progress has been made. We shall see. I go back and forth on the stadium stuff every day. I'm like, is it going to happen? I don't know. It's giving me anxiety. I need it to happen. But it definitely looked like there was some natural light in the building. And I thought it looked really good yesterday. There's a couple other things I noticed, too, about the Trop I want to talk about. And also, Shane McClanahan had some interesting words after the game. I have the audio for that, and I want to play for that for you coming up next on The Nick Wise Show.